Okay, so in this video, I'll be sharing how I designed my profile to help me attract leads and what I'm teaching to my clients as well. Because your profile is obviously such an important part when we think about lead generation, right? Because the thing is, whenever you make, say, things such as content, or maybe perhaps even when you're chatting with some people as well, you're always going to find they're going to filter to your profile, right? They're gonna filter you to your profile and they're gonna want to check out what you're doing. And this is really important because if your profile isn't standing out, if it isn't reflecting and positioning you in the way you want to be reflected, then they're just going to disappear, right? They're going to forget about you and they're going to move on. So, really, I wanted to talk more about this in each of the sections than what I'm currently doing. So, first of all, let's talk about the banner. So the banner, the first thing I like to do is the banner. A lot of people try and get clever, and this goes for the whole profile. People tend, one of the big mistakes I see people do is they try and get clever with their positioning, with say their headline, their banner, with the way they're coming across. And I understand why, and the reason why is because people want to stand out. They want to seem unique, and this is good. I'm glad you're doing this. However, the problem is that clever often translates to confusing because what you get and understand and see it in your way, someone else might not. And if it's confusing, then people are going to be confused. They're just not going to know what you're doing, who you help, what you offer, and how you do it. And if that's confusing, people don't like confusion. They often sort of like run away from it, and they often just don't want to deal with it. So this is why I wanted to just cover this today, because honestly speaking, if you can just take away the fact that your profile should be clear and not clever, then that's all that matters. So, right, the banner. What should happen in the banner? Well, lots of things can happen in the banner, but it's very easy for people to overcrowd the banner. And I've done this myself, and I've been a victim of this. Because one of the things with the banner is I want you to just realize is less is more, right? This is the most important thing you need to know because if there's loads of things going on the banner, people have lots of things to, adjust and look at. And chances are, if there's lots of stuff going on the banner, people probably aren't going to read it. They're not going to have the effort to read it. They'll probably skim past it. So, what you want is really focus on less is more. And for me, when I think about that, I like to think about, okay, well, let's have one core thing that we've got there. And this, for me, is usually what is the promise that you can make. Bear in mind, my handwriting is awful. What is the promise you can make to your ideal clients, right? What is that promise? And I mean, for me, this is usually just basically more revenue, right? And the thing is, this is painfully simple. This is painfully simple in terms of what you should include. But that's all they really need to see. Now, I mean, if I show you my banner here, you'll see that it's pretty straightforward, right? I sort of share exactly in terms of, well, I mean, if you see on the left side, obviously I've got a call to action, which I'll talk about in a minute. But really, this whole majority of the banner is literally just showing, hey, with my LinkedIn system and the tools and support, you will get more revenue for your business. Super straightforward, and it makes it very clear on that result that I'm getting my ideal client. And that's all you really need to have there. Now, you can have other things, and that's cool. Obviously, I've got that call to action there, which I'll share about more why I've done that. But it makes it very clear as to what sort of result I can promise my ideal client, because sometimes people might look at the profile and they're not quite sure on what you get them. So if you can make that promise, obviously don't overpromise something you can't deliver on. I believe I can deliver on being able to help people increase their revenue. So that is the first thing. The next thing you then have is the profile picture. Now, profile picture, honestly, don't really overthink this, right? Obviously, you want to have it professional. Something I use is called Sector AI, which I'll show you here. It's literally just pretty much an AI generated way to do it, which obviously, as you can see here, if I just scroll up a little bit, you can see obviously the difference in terms of like, when you upload and then what you've got there. What you'll find here, this is actually completely AI generated. You don't have to do this, just optional. But if you're finding that maybe you want your photos to be more professional, then I definitely recommend Sect AI. Funny enough, this is paid, but you do get like 100 plus sort of images to use, so you can really just pick and use those. Just because if you want to really make that good first impression, then that can be something you can do as well. So that's really all I really need to touch on there. Then with the profile, we then have our headline. Now, the headline's really important because this is the stuff that is not just shown, obviously, on your profile, but is also shown in your pieces of content. And like so, say like the little headline bit at the top there, but also in the comments you go to make as well, where usually the headline will be there, and then the comment you make is there. So this is going to show up in quite a few places, and you're going to want to make sure that what is there, or at least the first 40-ish characters there, is really beneficial and very, very clear. So, first of all, let's look at mine. So, mine at the moment, and who knows, maybe it will change by the time you see this video, is I help service based founders sign clients with my 3 stage LinkedIn system. Super clear. It's super clear in terms of exactly what result I'm going to help people get. And the funny thing is that if I look at my recent post here, you'll be able to see that this top bit here, you can see my headlines popped up there. And the first thing people are going to see, I help service-based founders sign clients with my 3 stage LinkedIn system. It's all there, or at least, maybe on mobile, it might be a little cut off at the end, but they're going to be able to see exactly what I do for them, who I help, and how I do it. So that's really important because it's very easy to get the headline all cramped up. And this is fair enough, right? You want to stand out, you want to find a way where you can, stand out a bit more and be a bit unique. And you can do stuff like that. However, going back to this part here, are you trying to be clever, leading to confusing, or are you going to, try and be clear? Right, because obviously if you're clear and the stuff that you're actually saying and seeing, is like, okay, yeah, I know what they do, then this is going to be helpful. This is going to be helpful pretty much. So that's what you really want to consider. And really, if you're going to follow a framework in terms of the headline, I just think it's literally, and you'd obviously put your ideal client here. I help ideal client, and then it can be, get and say, result. So whatever this is with, and then your offer, right? Or maybe your service, but usually your offer is kind of cool as well. Super simple. And that is exactly why we're doing it, because it's keeping it clear. And who knows, maybe at some point I'll do a profile audit of loads of people's headlines. But the idea is that when people come to your profile, they can see exactly what you do for them. That's all you need, right? Yeah, maybe you can add a few things, but also going back to the other point, less is more. Less is more. This is so important because like when I see people with a headline that is absolutely stacked up, like as in you have the headline, so say you got the profile here, and the headline is coming all the way down here, and there's like multiple lines of this. I'm not reading all of that. Matter of fact, I'm probably not even going to read it, even just two, right? So you want to try and just keep it really specific, because if there's little to look at and there's little to just, I suppose, absorb in, it can be easier and less effort to read and look at, which is what we're trying to do here. Now, obviously, with say your banner, you can obviously, say after you've made it super clear, then yeah, sure, you can maybe add some nice graphics or however you like to do it. Same with the headline if you want to, but just make sure it's clear and less is more, just at the back of your mind, sort of thing. So that's really what I like to do first. Now, the next thing we then have is obviously say your link in bio and even your featured section. So with these, genuinely don't even overcomplicate it. Link in bio, in my opinion, should be that their way of being able to contact you or learn more about what you do. Make it super, super clear so that when people are interested or curious, they can go and find out. So some people have this at the booking links, and maybe Calendly. I mean, I use Cal, but it doesn't really matter. Other people like me, I actually have people that can go straight to my website, So literally, if people are interested, they can click the visit my website button, and it brings up my website just like that. So they can immediately learn more, and it's all right there and then. That's usually what I do for my LinkedIn bio. Then we have the featured section. Now, the featured section, then again, I'm going to be honest here, it is less is more, right? Don't have loads of things in your featured section, in my opinion. Now, you can have social proof in there if you want to. I tend to have social proof in my services section. And like social proof and results and stuff, my services section, just to keep it neat and just like a different section for people that want to see some results I've got. That said, if maybe you've made some post about some results you've got and such, you can obviously have in your featured. So for the featured, you can do this in a few different ways. I think the featured is really quite good of being able to help nurture or just give more to potential people that are like potential ideal clients that are looking at your profile that maybe aren't ready to book in, right? Because for example, let's say they've like seen that first button to book in with you or see your website. Maybe maybe they're completely cold, so they'll scroll down. And so, going back to this is why I've got this call to action at the top left saying, hey, my latest lead gen videos are in my featured. Because what I've got down here is I've got my latest YouTube videos, which I have basically based on, basically like some of the content. Now, obviously, this is longer form content. So if this is something that, say, catches their eye and they're interested in, they can watch that. And then from there, they can almost just get, well, they can at least, say, have more trust in me as to how I could help them and so on and so forth. So that's really why I have that there as just a way to potentially nurture. So obviously, in my case, I just have two of my latest YouTube videos. I wouldn't really go above three. Now that said, obviously, if you want to put your social proof in your featured, you can. I tend to put it in my services, but that's that. But yeah, usually I find if you have any videos or resources, maybe lead magnets or such that you can or you want to put in your featured, I think you should go for it because if it's going to help your ideal client and you genuinely think it will and that might interest them, then obviously you can go for it as well. But overall, that is pretty much what I look to include in my profile. Now, the only other thing we haven't covered is obviously the about section. Now, the about section for me, I don't actually have as being that complicated. Usually, what I'm doing here is I'm calling out my ideal client at the very first thing, and then I'm actually talking about all the problems that they're probably facing. So why they should sort of listen in terms of just calling out their pains, their problems, stuff they're dealing with. I then actually then share more about how I could help them and the sort of dream result that they can get. And then I also give them a bit of a call to action as well in terms of visiting my website to learn more about how they can do it. But I wouldn't really overcomplicate or worry too much about the about section. But really, if you could just make it relevant to them as to pulling on the pains, and then be able to talk about what they can do and what you do to help, and then give them a call to action. That's all they really need to know. Because the thing is that once you have this profile all set up, right? Once people can come to your profile and they can see exactly, who you help, what you do, how you do it, and it's all there, it's going to be so much easier because then when you go to, say, make content, when you go to, I don't know, message some people, what are they going to do? They're going to check your profile. They want to learn more about you, or at least they're curious, right? So when you have this profile all nailed down, it's going to be super useful. So that is pretty much the video as to what you can focus on for your profile. Now, I do actually have a video that covers the 5-hour LinkedIn routine, which I'm currently using to basically help me use LinkedIn every single week without having without having to say spend as much time on LinkedIn. That's 5 hour a week, by the way. So if you're interested to learn more about that, I'll leave the video right there.